Better late than never, Matt DiBenedetto has a ride for 2024, and Chase Elliott sits down for a rare long-form interview with Dale Earnhardt Jr. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. One of the most interesting free agents this offseason was Matt DiBenedetto, a former NASCAR Cup Series playoff driver, was part of last season's Craftsman Truck Series playoff field, but split from Rackley War Racing before season's end, and was not able to find a new home in time for the 2024 season, but like I said, better late than never. Yesterday, Matt DiBenedetto announced a part-time Xfinity Series deal with Viking Motorsports. The plan is to make at least 5 Xfinity Series starts beginning March 30th at Richmond Raceway. Matty D tweeted, "I'm going Xfinity Series racing. Thank you Viking Motorsports for the opportunity, and I look forward to kicking it off at Richmond." Frontstretch.com reported on this story. First, I'll link their article down in the description below. It includes some very interesting quotes from Viking Motorsports owner Don Sackett. He explained why they chose to sign Matt DiBenedetto. Quote, "We started the season with CJ McLaughlin, but he had trouble qualifying 2 of the first 4 races, so we had to make a change, and it turned out that Matt DiBenedetto was available, and we called him up. He wanted to get back into racing, he didn't have anything lined up, so we decided to try to work together the rest of this season with him." Frontstretch reports that the team hopes to run every Xfinity Series race this season, minus the road courses and the 2 Darlington races. But right now, Matt DiBenedetto is only signed for 5. I must admit, I know very little about Viking Motorsports and Don Sackett. Based on what I learned reading this Frontstretch article, the team works closely with Ryan Sieg and RSS Racing. Apparently, RSS provides the crew, the hauler, while Viking Motorsports provides the car and is leasing motors from Roush Yates. They share the purse money with RSS Racing, and the number 38 is actually a Ryan Sieg number. Don Sackett is the CEO of SciApps Incorporated, who is the full season sponsor for Ryan Sieg's number 39. So it's a very interesting relationship, but great to see Matt DiBenedetto find a new home. This is obviously a downgrade from what he drove in trucks last year. Last season he was full-time in a decent truck, was able to make the playoffs. Now he's part-time in Xfinity at least, but with kind of an upstart team that, as Don Sackett notes, has failed to qualify for half the races so far this year. I don't know what to expect from Matt DiBenedetto the next few weeks. If this car is truly an RSS Racing car, Ryan Sieg is 13th in points, has led some laps. Matt DiBenedetto could easily run top 15, maybe even top 10. But it seems like this is more of an RSS adjacent entry. I don't know what their resources truly look like. If Matt DiBenedetto is able to run top 15 consistently early this season, he could absolutely catch the attention of maybe a more established team that's willing to sign him for the full year, or the rest of the year at least. But I'm not sure that's realistic. It sounds like Viking Motorsports is looking for outside sponsorship. I'm not sure signing Matt DiBenedetto is going to solve your money problems, but it is something. And I am glad to see Matt DiBenedetto back in a NASCAR ride. He's only 32 years old. And I know Matt DiBenedetto has bounced between teams the last few years, and I understand he has a reputation, fair or not, of burning bridges wherever he goes. My point is he's still young enough, and I think he is talented enough. Again, he's qualified for the Cup playoffs. He did that during the pandemic season. He's won a truck race, dragged that Rackley War team into the playoffs last year. Right now with Ty Dillon, they're 24th in points. He's decent enough. He's a talented enough race car driver that if he can just keep his head down, stay humble, go to work, things may work out for him still. He's young enough that he could still have a very full, very successful NASCAR career if he embraces this opportunity and all of its imperfections, as well as the next potential opportunity. I am rooting for Matt DiBenedetto. Love him, hate him. I find him interesting at the very least, and I like to talk about interesting. Speaking of interesting, Chase Elliott was a guest on the Dale Jr. Download this week. I'll link the full episode down below. They went into great detail about, the snowboarding injury last season. Towards the end of the episode, Elliott talked about maybe why he struggled in the next gen the past couple years, said he and Kyle Busch have compared notes. Really interesting stuff throughout, but there was one particular conversation early on that had me pause and take a step back. Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Chase Elliott are a fascinating pair. You've got the current most popular driver talking to the previous most popular driver. Yet, the differences between the two could not be more noticeable. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is still a household name. He's more popular, more well-known than any current active NASCAR Cup Series driver. Dale Jr. is still, in my opinion, the single most influential voice in the industry despite having been largely retired from driving for 7 years. Dale still stars in commercials. He owns a race team. He owns a race series, owns a media company. He participated in and helped produce the NASCAR Netflix show. That's Dale Earnhardt Jr., while Chase Elliott, in this interview, says he thinks doing the Netflix show would be too great of a distraction. Stark contrast between the two most recent, most popular drivers. I don't want this to come off as anti-Chase Elliott. From what I understand, he's a good dude. He's very close to his family, stays true to his roots. I respect that a ton. Obviously, he's a very talented race car driver, but his unwillingness to even remotely embrace being the face of this industry, his unwillingness not just to promote NASCAR, but to even promote his own brand often, is mind-boggling to me. I'll just play the short clip from this interview. Dale Jr. asks Chase Elliott point blank, if the Netflix people ask, would you participate in the next season? And Chase Elliott does not sound very interested.
If Netflix does a season 2 and asks you to be a part of it, would you do it?
I don't know. I haven't watched it at all, so I think my first step to
answering that question would be to watch it.
Answering that question would be to watch a little bit of it and just see how bad they would piss me off being around all the time. It might not be the most entertaining thing or the most popular answer or whatever, but dude, I really just want to go fast and I want to do my job at a high level. And if I feel like there's anything that's going to take away from that, I'm probably going to say no to it.
There are two different ways to approach this. One way is to examine this through a competitive lens. NASCAR, first and foremost, is a competition, and Chase Elliott already has the sponsors. He already drives for one of the best teams in the sport. He can afford to focus almost solely on driving. He doesn't have to chase money or hunt for opportunities like most other drivers have to. But I want to examine this topic through a different, larger business lens. I don't remember where I've heard this. Maybe it was Bill France said it back in the day, or Mike Helton, or who knows where, but have you heard of the phrase, leave the sport better than how you found it? Dale Earnhardt, back in the 80s, the 90s, was a marketing machine. He could sell t-shirts and he could sell tickets. Jeff Gordon in the 90s leaned into the spotlight, hosted Saturday Night Live, was appearing in movies. Chase Elliott likes his bubble. He likes familiarity. He lives in Dawsonville, Georgia. But he's shown in some ways that he is willing to step outside of his comfort zone, like, when he went and raced the Chili Bowl, which they talk about in this podcast. Again, if we look at this topic through that bigger business lens, I think Chase Elliott can be more outgoing. He can step out of his comfort zone, promote himself, promote the sport without having any negative effect on his driving career. Hearing him almost dismiss any involvement with the Netflix show is just kind of disappointing to hear. It feels like a missed opportunity. We talk all the time about NASCAR's current lack of superstars. Chase Elliott is a star amongst race fans. Everyone knows who he is. But if he stepped outside of his comfort zone and, say, did the Netflix show, should they get a season 2, there's a great chance he could become the next household name, like Dale Earnhardt Jr. was and still is. He'll probably never be Dale Jr. big, but I think he could get close. But so far, he's been unwilling to put himself out there. A lot of fans say Chase Elliott is boring, and maybe he is in the conventional sense. But I actually find him extremely interesting. The unknown is interesting. Chase Elliott keeps so much hidden. There's so much we don't know about him that we could still learn. That's why I love the few times Chase Elliott does get behind a microphone, sits down for a long-form interview like this one. It's one of the rare times we get a real peek into the mind of one of the most confidential stars in professional sports. I find that interesting. Again, I hope this doesn't come off as anti-Elliott. If you look at this purely through the competitive lens, he's doing nothing wrong. 90% of his job is to be a great race car driver, but there is 10% of his job where he's supposed to serve as an ambassador to the sport and build his own image and brand. And I feel like he neglects that part of his job more than he should. But obviously, he can live his own life. He's his own person. Fans love him for who he is. He doesn't have to change. But the same way we applaud and commend Dale Earnhardt Jr. for his efforts to leave the sport better than he found it, I think it's fair to at least lightly criticize Chase Elliott for not really doing the same. That's just my opinion, but I want to hear what you think down in the comment section below. Now, before I go, I sat down this morning with Ryan Stevens from wintherace.info, a stats and analytical expert. We talked all things COTA. I'll share the full interview here later today, but for now, I wanted to give you just a sneak peek of our Circuit of the Americas preview. Lots of interesting information. You'll want to take notes. I want to talk about a few drivers who may view the first road course race of the season as a great opportunity. I mentioned him a moment ago. Let's talk about Michael McDowell. Won the Indianapolis road course race last season to make the playoffs. He led laps at several road course races last season. What are your thoughts on Michael McDowell? Considering front row now, I guess, as a key Ford partner, Penske Alliance, could we expect McDowell to run up front, top 5, contend for the win?
Yeah, I love McDowell on road courses. Only Tyler Reddick and Chase Elliott have ran inside the top 10 at a higher percentage than McDowell on the road courses over the last 2 years. So, I mean, he's up there with both of the most elite names we have in the Cup Series on road courses. He's got the new Alliance too, and he does look noticeably stronger most places this year. I mean, it does seem like, they're bringing a fast car week in and week out. My only worry here is that, the Penske Alliance, Penske hasn't really shown up at the road courses in this, in the new, over the last 2 years.
That's a good point.
But I don't know if that really matters for him. He's so good at these, and then you bring a faster car, potentially just give him a little boost. Yeah, I think he should be up there. I know Greg bet him to finish top 10 this week as well. So we do like him to be running up near the front.
Awesome. Definitely can find some numbers that you like on Michael McDowell. I want to talk about 2 Hendrick drivers. Alex Bowman, he hasn't won a NASCAR Cup Series race now in over 2 years, but he's been really strong at Circuit of the Americas in his career. He's been circling victory lane, trying to get in there. Third last season. I think he was second the year before that. How do you feel about Alex Bowman? And actually, while we're on the topic, let's talk Chase Elliott as well, who also is riding a bit of a winless streak and hasn't won a road course race in the next-gen era despite dominating road courses before then. Those 2 Hendrick drivers kind of flown under the radar the past year compared to their teammates. Do you think this could be the weekend Bowman or Elliott or both score top 5s, contend for the win? What do you think?
Yeah, Bowman. I'll start with Bowman. He's interesting because he does seem like he's much better at COTA than the other road courses. And he's not bad at the other road courses. He's, more often than not, he's a top 10 car. I do my true performance ranks, which kind of takes all the data NASCAR spits out, and I try to see how they truly performed, kind of take out incidents and things like that and get a true speed for how they were during the race. He only had 1 top 5 true performance last year in a road course. It was a COTA. And that's what seems to be a theme. He's just very, very solid here. So, yeah, he's one I definitely have my eyes on. We actually took a matchup, Bowman over Cindric. So we have bet that on Win the Race. So we do like Bowman this weekend. And then one thing that I liked about Chase Elliott, and we just mentioned it a second ago, are the pit crews. I do 4-tire pit stop ranks on Win the Race, and I try to weed out all the noise the best I can. But Chase Elliott right now, it actually goes HMS, 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 1, 2, 3. But Chase Elliott is number 1.
Wow.
So like you said, in a race where he could be running right up front and you get that, you get a caution or you get one of the stage breaks or anything like that, and he can jump a few guys or even one guy if he's running in second, anything. That pit crew could help out tremendously here. Get that track position. And if Chase Elliott gets a clean air in a road course, look out. So, yeah, I'm definitely interested in Chase Elliott this weekend.
The full conversation between me and Ryan will be up later today. But in the meantime, leave a like on this video, subscribe if you're new to the show, and as always, a huge thank you to my very generous Patreon supporters. I will see you again later this afternoon, hopefully. Take it easy, y'all.